are, about to enjoy another cool Arizona night with me, Eddie Rodman, the host with the boast. Hey, any of you guys remember Old Gods of Asgard? Man, I actually saw them twice back in the 70s. I was just a kid then, but my dad worked at this club, and he'd sneak me in to see bands all the time. You know how it is. Talk about an education. Anyway, great band, couple of great albums, solid fan base, and then they kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Well, now, almost 4 decades later, they're making a comeback. And let me tell you, these boys have seen a lot of road. They're some serious rock and roll veterans, because they weren't too young even back in the day. Well, now I've got Odin and Tor Anderson, two of the original Old Gods, in the studio with me, along with their manager, Barry Wheeler. Nice to have you guys here.
Oh, hey, great to be here, Eddie.
Yeah, hey, hello! Now, boys, let me just come out and say this, all right? Spring chickens, you ain't. I mean, you guys, you make the Stones look young.
You're only as old as you feel.
Who you calling old? Now, your last album was 1978's In the Valley of My Shadow. And then you stopped playing altogether after that. Why? And what made you do a comeback after all this time?
Well, it was a sad thing. See, the original bass player for Old Gods, Fat Bob Balder, passed away in... what was that?
Leukemia! Bob had leukemia, poor bastard.
Yeah, after that, we didn't feel like playing no more.
Long story short, I ran into these guys up in Washington, and it was obvious to me that they still got it. So I figured, hey, let's make some music, right? And they went for it.
Now, Barry, you were a literary agent before this, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you were very successful. You represented Alan Wake, I believe, who disappeared under mysterious...
Yeah, that's... hey, I just want to talk about Old Gods tonight. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Listen, why don't we take a little break, and then later on... Welcome back, listeners. As you know, I'm Eddie Rodman, and I'm still talking to Old Gods of Asgard, who are doing their big comeback tour. How's that been going for you? Odin?
Splendid! I'm having the time of my life. You know, I didn't realize how much I'd missed that.
And what about you, Tor?
It's okay, you know.
Well, this must bring back a lot of memories.
Oh, yeah. It's wonderful to be back on stage. If it wasn't for my knee, I'd feel like a young man again.
Well, speaking of that, I hate to keep harping on this age thing, but I gotta tell you, I've heard your new songs, guys, and you sound really good.
Thank you.
And this may be a touchy subject, but to be blunt, you really don't sound, well, old. I mean the difference between your speaking voice and your singing voice, it's pretty striking.
What the hell are you talking about? You saying it's not us singing on that record?
What? What's he talking about?
No, I'm not saying that, guys, but I can't help noticing the difference.
Son, you're on thin ice.
You calling me a liar?
Whoa, hey, let me just step in here for a moment, boys. Yeah, Eddie, they do sound different, but believe me, we're not talking Milli Vanilli here. These guys are the real deal. Why don't you come to the gig tomorrow night and see for yourself? Once they get on that stage, boom, things get real.
Really?
Believe me, they play like they're possessed. It's almost like magic. Look, you see my boys play, you see the Old Gods for real. These guys project a lot of power. They're not lightweights, you know what I'm saying?
All right, Barry, I'll see if I can make it. Now, let's take another quick break here, and after that, we'll play the new Old Gods of Asgard single, Don't You Go Away. And we're back with Old Gods of Asgard and their manager, Barry Wheeler. Guys, you're on your comeback tour, and you're playing a lot of your classic material, but you've also got a new single out, right? How'd that come about? Was it hard to go back into the studio after such a long time?
Are you kidding me? They were chomping at the bit. They were just itching to stretch those creative muscles. Now, it had been a while because, you know, they spent a lot of time in,
Retirement. We were retired.
We were?
Yeah.
No. We were at the lodge, and we escaped.
We were at the retirement,
retirement thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, really, once we got in the studio, things started happening. Now, the music has changed a little bit, and the boys were a little rusty, so it took us a while to find the right gear. But hey, once we got going, whoo, boy, they kicked ass. And it's an awesome song. It's called Balance Slays the Demon, and seriously, I think it's their finest work. And hey, I should know,
Okay, people, it's Eddie Rodman here with a few hours to kill, and there's nobody I'd rather spend them with. Nobody else in the whole world. Oh boy, that'll land me in hot water when I get back home, won't it? Well, just in case my wife is listening, and you always are, aren't you, baby? Let me tell you, you are the exception, honey. And the prettiest lady I ever saw to boot. But I'd really like to spend some quality time with you listeners, because, tonight's one of those nights. You're sitting in the studio and you kind of forget how long it's been or what day it is. You just sit here and go through the motions, and you might as well have been here forever. You keep talking, but you don't even know what you're saying. It's like you're on automatic. You can't stop the ride and get off. It's times like these that I really wish that somebody would just call in and relieve my boredom. How about it? Anybody? Come on now, help a fella out. Our lines are open. Oh, praise be. You guys are coming through for me. A pretty little light just started blinking on my board here, and that means there's a caller out there. When the hours stretch into eternity like this, when it feels like I'm stuck in a rut and just reliving the same endless night over and over again, I feel genuinely touched by someone actually reaching out to me, breaking the monotony. I just want you to know that it really matters to me. Caller, you're on the air.
You suck, Eddie!
Did you know that this is my dream job? True fact. I was about to do the weather, but I see we have a caller. Hey, you're on the air with Eddie. What's up?
Hey, Eddie, it's Ricky. You talked about fate before. You think about that a lot?
Not a lot, to be honest, but I take it you do.
Oh, yeah.
Any conclusions you'd care to share, Ricky?
Well, we've got free will, right? That's in the Bible and everything.
Yeah, right, sure.
So free will, right? Am I right? I mean, if we can do what we want, how can there be fate? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen next, so there's no fate. There's just people doing stuff.
Well, I don't know, Ricky. I don't suppose you have considered the possibility that we're all here in the service of a greater purpose, incomprehensible to us, and that what we take to be freedom is nothing more than the move of a pawn on some cosmic chessboard, limited in scope, subject to the whims of unseen players, existing only for their entertainment. Or perhaps we're just a twisted reflection of actual events that can happen elsewhere. Could it be that such is life in Night Springs?
Dude, what?
Food for thought, Ricky. Food for thought. Well, art lovers, are you feeling neglected? You shouldn't. You know Eddie Rodman's got love for you, which is why I actually hauled myself out of bed before noon, just so I could record an interview for your pleasure. Enjoy. Now, as I'm sure you all know, the annual Night Springs Visual Art Show is coming around again, and that's a big deal for all of us that are in the culture business. If you can call it a business. That's a little controversial, I know.
Oh, that's okay. Money makes the world go around, no doubt about it.
And that's one of my guests here at the studio, Serena Valdivia. She's a curator at the Night Springs Gallery of Visual Arts, and she's in charge of the NSVA Film Festival, held this year at the old Night Springs Drive-In Theater.
Hello, Eddie. It's great to be here. And let me just say that it's a wonderful venue.
Absolutely. And with her is one of the filmmakers, somebody who's actually primarily known as a renowned photographer, Alice Wake.
Hello.
Now, Alice, I've seen a lot of your work over the years. It's very impressive. My wife's a big fan, actually.
Oh, thank you.
You've gained quite a bit of fame as a photographer, but that's not why you're here, right? You actually have a film. That's a little surprising.
For me, too. I really wouldn't be here at all if it weren't for Serena.
You two are friends, I take it?
Yeah, we move in the same circles. So about a year ago, I heard about all this footage she'd shot, and I got to see some of it, and then I started pestering her about actually putting it out there, because it was really good. I didn't really want to show it. It felt too personal.
Well, yes, I can understand that. It features your husband, and he's, well...
He's dead.
I thought he was missing.
It's been 2 years. This sounds awful, but yes, I believe he's dead. Otherwise, he would have, well, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Well, hold that thought, and we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in for the second part of our interview with Serena Valdivia and award-winning photographer Alice Wake. Now, Alice, we were talking about your husband, Alan Wake. Is that a sore subject for you?
Well, a little bit. Of course it is. The way I see it, we had our good times and our bad times, and on the whole, we had a lot of good times. He really made me happy. I don't mind being reminded of him.
So you're over him?
I don't know if I'll ever be that, entirely. I still think about him every day, literally. I still find myself hoping for... Well, sometimes I think I see him just standing somewhere, watching me. I think most people who lose someone they love experience things like that. But on the whole, I'm doing all right. 2 years is a long time to adjust, and I'm not really the type to wallow in the negative.
Well, I know there are a lot of stories about Alan. He seemed to have something of a wild streak.
That's not really what our show is about, though. Look, all that stuff really gets blown out of proportion. He had his problems, but it's really frustrating for me because people like to talk. They love to tell these crazy stories, and they never really knew him at all.
Well, the character he created, Alex Casey, is a household name. The books still continue to sell. There's been talk of a TV series, a movie, a video game. Must be nice to know that his work is still being appreciated by so many readers.
Yes, of course, but I don't really deal with the business side. I leave that to Alan's agent.
That would be Barry Wheeler. Actually, I just interviewed him. He's currently in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also Alan's best friend. Do you two keep in touch? Or?
We talk regularly. Like I said, he handles the business side. I think we should talk about her film.
Yes, of course, you're right. I'm Eddie Rodman, talking to Alice Wake and Serena Valdivia, and we'll be right back. Hello, folks, and welcome to the third part of our pre-recorded interview with Serena Valdivia and renowned photographer Alice Wake. So, tell me about the film.
It's called Sunrise, and it really wasn't something I ever thought of as an actual film. It was just footage, things I saw and happened to shoot. It's not a medium I'm very much at home with. You shouldn't put yourself down. You've got a great eye. Maybe, but experience is another thing.
Because you're primarily a still photographer.
Yes, exactly. So I'm really used to thinking of the world in terms of snapshots. I frame something and try to pick the right moment, and then reveal that moment to people. Moving images are a different story. I'm still learning a lot about it, to be honest.
So this is a new thing for you?
Or maybe I'm just a slow learner. But showing it like this is definitely a new step for me. It's a little weird taking something this intimate and showing it to everybody. Not that the material itself is somehow shocking. It's just that those were private moments. But that's why it works, because it feels genuine. It's not so much a story as it is a sort of an echo, showing us how you saw your husband at the time. It's not really about the sunrise itself or Alan watching it. It's about you two together. I suppose. It's funny, looking at it now, especially now that it's been edited like that. It takes on a life of its own, almost. It's a kind of a fantasy. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. No, you're right. I'm glad you talked me into it.
The man before you is a champion of light. He is part of a conflict between darkness and light that is both ancient and eternal. He is chasing a dangerous quarry, the herald of darkness. His evil doppelganger, known only as Mr. Scratch.
Maybe, But what are you gonna do then? By then, I'll have had my hands on everything you love. You've been up to something, haven't you? Too bad it's not gonna do any good. I'm a better you than you ever will be, and I've got all the time in the world. Everything you've got's going to be mine. Your life. Your wife! What are you gonna do about it? The sun's never coming up now. I can keep this up forever. Show yourself! Whatever you say, buddy.
The rush of darkness is unstoppable. Time itself twists and tears, sweeping the champion of light back with its dark currents.
You're trying to be cute, aren't you? What are you up to? It's a waste of time, buddy. You should just lie down and die. Let me take over. This is the only thing you've got coming to you. From here to eternity. No matter how many times you come back.
Time folds back on itself. Again, his senses scream as the very impossibility of what is happening assaults them. But the champion of light endures.
Oh, come on, buddy. Why don't you... What? What is this? No! No! You can't do this! All I did was take the things you always wanted and never had the balls to go for. It's my turn now. It's my life. It's my life.
Alan? Is it really you?
It's really me.
How? I love you.
I love you.
A woman, a man, two lovers, held apart for far too long, enveloped in the light of a glorious dawn. They both feel it. He's home at last. Are these actual events, or merely a dream? A memory, or a glimpse of what is to come? One thing is certain. This scene takes place in another time, and another place, far, far away from Night Springs.
No?